It's the last Sunday in September. The series I've been preaching, we've been looking at treasures that I found on my sabbatical in August. And I want to unpack just one more treasure from my time that really was awesome. And really, it's my family. We got to spend some much needed time together. I got to have date days with each of our kids. We went a few days hiking to waterfalls in Shenandoah and got to ride some roller coasters. And Michelle and I got to spend some time together where we weren't planning what's the next thing coming up on our busy schedule. Most of that just time together was spent on the beach, which is extra awesome. It was such a blessing to be just focused time with the fam, and I thank you for allowing me to do that. And it reminded me that my family is awesome. My family's awesome, which is good because that's our family motto. We have a family motto. A few years ago, we sat down and said, okay, what's something that we should be doing as a family, that we can be focused on, we can be centered on, that the Lord wants us doing, that would describe us, and that really is a standard for us that we can always come back to, that this is what it means to be a Woods. And we talked about always being kind and always being honest and always being helpful, about being faithful, about being prayerful, always looking for lonely people. And we realized we were simply describing being like Jesus. And the kids concluded in a word, is awesome. So if you're going to use one word, what would you do? What would you say? How would you describe Jesus? And awesome, he's awesome. Awesome means extremely impressive, something that inspires awe, a mixture of wonder and fear at something or someone who is more powerful and more honored than you. And the greatest display of awesomeness is Jesus. Even the Bible says so. Psalm 68:35 begins, "You, God, are awesome." So our family motto is simply this: be awesome today. If you didn't catch on to that, I got a shirt made up. Be awesome today, and we know that means we want to be like Jesus today. And tomorrow, we want to be like Jesus today. And on Tuesday, we want to be like Jesus today. And we know that we can always come back to that, right? We want to be able at the end of the day to describe our words and our thoughts and our actions as being awesome. So as I'm thinking through this, this past August, I got thinking, man, I want to share that. I want to share that with you. So I started praying about what that sermon might look like. And man, there are a lot of things we could do to be awesome. Like, too many things. A whole litany of things that I'm not going to even attempt to cover. But for today, Family Fusion Sunday, I want us to uncover 3 things that awesome families do. And my hope for today is that as you leave here, you would walk away with just one maybe that you would love to build on. And the first one is this: awesome families play together. They pray together, but awesome families play together. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, said in Ecclesiastes 8:15, "I commend the enjoyment of life because there's nothing better for a person under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad. Then joy will accompany them in their toil all the days of the life God has given them under the sun." Enjoyment. Joy, play, having fun is important to our families because according to the wisest person to ever live, when we learn to enjoy life that God's given us as kids, we carry that on into adulthood, the days where we're toiling, where we're working. Joy will accompany us. He said, Solomon did in Ecclesiastes 11:8, "However many years anyone may live, let them enjoy them all." The Apostle Paul tells Timothy to command people not to put their hope in money, but rather put your hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Enjoyment, right? Joy, fun, they all go together, and they all happen when we play together. It's part of the abundant life that Jesus came to give us. And I'll prove it. We're going to play a game. Are you ready? I need 3 kids. Elizabeth, you'd be perfect. Come up here. Sweet, come on up. Brody, come up here. Come here, Jess, you'd be perfect. Yes, come on up here. All right, here's this game. It's called reverse charades, all right? They're not going to act anything out for you. You stand right here, hon. You're going to act out what you see on the screen. We're going to do one at a time. You're going to act it out, and you got to figure out what they're doing. So y'all need to stand up. It's Family Fusion Sunday. Stand up. We're allowed to have fun in church. Come on. Bro, you stand up here. Elizabeth's going to go first. Are you ready? So they're going to act something out, and you have to figure out what they're doing. Are you ready? You have to participate. Are you serious? You have to participate. Are you ready? Don't look at the screen. Here's the first one. You got to act it out. Figure out whether just watch them. What are they doing? They're wiggling their arms. What are they trying to act out? If they knew what they were doing, they would make a sound. What kind of animal? What is that?
Elephant.
An elephant! Yeah! You nailed it. High five. High five. Go back, sit with Dad. That's perfect. Thank you. Nice job. All right, Brody, you ready? We got another one. Are you ready? Go. What are they doing?
Roller coaster.
Yes! High five! That was awesome. They're riding a roller coaster. It goes down. All right, last one. Are you ready? You think you can handle this?
I don't know if I'm smart enough.
Let's milk this one a little bit. All right, here we go. This is the last one. Just wait. Yeah, that's right. But you got to let them keep doing it. That's awesome. Yes, that's totally true. You can sit down. Thank you for participating. I sure hope all the services go that way. But no, thank you. You proved my point. Just look around the room. Everybody's smiling. Everybody's enjoying life together, right? The Bible, believe it or not, speaks a lot to this. Psalm 68:3, may the righteous be glad. Philippians 4:4, you may have heard this before. Rejoice in the Lord always. I'll say it again, because apparently we forget this. Rejoice. Ecclesiastes 3:4, there's a time to mourn and a time to dance. Galatians 5:22, the fruit of the Spirit is joy. Proverbs 17:22, a cheerful heart is good medicine. Awesome families play together. There's a psychiatrist and researcher named Dr. Stuart Brown. Listen to this. He explains that play shapes our brain, helps us foster empathy, and helps us navigate complex social groups, and is at the core of creativity and innovation. Isn't that fascinating? And don't we want all those things? As we become adults, we force play out of our lives thinking we had to choose between work and fun. But from research, we can argue that play is essential for our health. And he goes on, and this was the gut punch thing for me. He said the opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. Awesome families make it a priority to play together. A second thing awesome families do is they encourage growth in each other. One of my favorite verses about Jesus happened when he was 12. His parents had brought him to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover together. The whole crew came, and after the festival, everybody left to go home, and about a day in, they realized, where's Jesus? And they left him. They left him behind, and so they came back to Jerusalem and searched the city for 3 days and finally found him sitting at the temple with all the teachers. And everybody was amazed at what he was saying and the questions he was asking. It was a really cool thing. And so they gathered him up and they started heading back home. And verse 52 of Luke chapter 2 says that Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and with men. And don't you want that true of your kids? Of all kids, of all people for that matter, growing up in the favor of God and the favor of people? Or what about Proverbs chapter 24, verse 16? Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. That no matter how much struggle we have in our families, no matter how hard we fall or far we fall, no matter how many times or how difficult, we get back up and begin moving forward again. That doesn't just happen naturally. And awesome families know that. And so they encourage growth. And can I tell you that growth, the spiritual growth specifically, doesn't happen by criticism. Doesn't happen by, no one ever excelled because someone was constantly telling them how wrong they were or how bad they were. That doesn't work. In fact, the Bible speaks directly to dads in this thought. In Ephesians 6:4, he says, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Rather, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Criticism doesn't work. Can I tell you, comparisons don't work either. Well, do it like them. What, can't you be more like so-and-so? No. What works to encourage growth in each other is conversation. Training and instruction of the Lord is communicated through conversation. In Deuteronomy chapter 5, Moses gets the 10 Commandments from God. And he comes down, and in chapter 6, he gathers the entire nation of Israel, the whole family of God together, and he says, these are the top 10 that God's giving you. He said, and here's what you need to do. You need to write these on your heart. These commands I give you today need to be on your hearts. You need to know them. You need to practice them. You need to obey them. You need to be faithful to God's word. And then he says, impress them on your children. Okay, well, how do we do that? It's a great question, and this is what he says. Here's the answer. Impress these things that God is teaching you. Impress them on your children. Talk about them. That's conversation. Talk about them. When you sit at home, and when you walk along the road, and when you lie down and tuck your kids in at night, and when you wake up and you're having breakfast and you're all the way to school, when you get up, talk about them. Make faith talk part of your everyday conversation within your family. That's how we encourage growth in each other. Listen, we can't ever expect our kids to grow up in the training and instruction of the Lord if we don't offer them the training and the instruction of the Lord. Awesome families play together. And awesome families encourage growth in each other. Here's a third one. Awesome families serve together. I came across this verse on my sabbatical that I don't think I've ever paid any attention to. It's this really neat family. In 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 15, it says, you know that the household of Stephanas were the first converts in Achaia, and they have devoted themselves to the service of the Lord's people. I want to be like that. I want my family devoted to the service of the Lord's people. Awesome families can substitute their own family name in this verse because they're committed to serving people. Not because it makes them look good or even because it makes them feel good, but because it's the Lord's expectation of his people to be servants. Mark chapter 10, Jesus said, the Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. So, he says, you want to be first in the kingdom? You want to be greatest in the kingdom? You want to be awesome today? You must be a servant and a slave to everybody. Listen, Christ followers live to serve. Paul says it this way in Ephesians 6, as slaves of Christ, doing the will of God from your heart, serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Is there a better team than family? My prayer is that everyone in this family will adopt a new family motto. Be awesome today. And that you would leave here today maybe just ready to target one of these three things that awesome families do, playing more or encouraging growth in each other. Or like Joshua, who came together as a family, and that your family would choose this day who you might serve together. So be awesome today. I have to say, though, there's one other motto your family might need to adopt today. I mean, if we're just being honest, and frankly, it's still awesome. It may be more awesome than the other thing. But it has a little different tone to it. Because you may be here today and realize that yourself and or your family is in a season right now that seems far less than awesome. It's still family. Can I remind you, family's not perfect. It isn't flawless. Family's not, at the top of the leaderboard is undefeated. Family takes its hits, takes its losses, but it's family. We don't quit family. Family rallies together. Family asks for help. Family makes the changes. Family does whatever's necessary to become awesome. And maybe today you need to adopt a motto that Nehemiah shouted out to the people of God when they were rebuilding the wall around Jerusalem. You see, the wall around God's city had been destroyed. And Nehemiah went back to rebuild the wall, and he gathered families together, literally whole families, and set them up in the different spots along the wall where they would be rebuilding the wall, but they were afraid. You see, where there was these enemies, these attackers that were coming at them. And these attackers, they wanted to see those families lose heart. They wanted to see those families fall apart and quit. And so Nehemiah took notice of that, and he stood up and he looked over the whole scene. He says, hey, don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of those things that are wearing on your family, that are causing you to be afraid and tempting you to just quit and go different directions. Don't be afraid of them. He said, listen, remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, for your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes. Fight for your families. And if that's your motto today, listen, that's awesome. Because awesome families fight for each other. Jesus says, you come to me. You find yourself in that spot, you come to me. You find yourself afraid, you find yourself heavy and burdened, you come to me and I'll carry the heavy stuff. Come and learn from me how to walk through this by carrying the light stuff. I'll take care of the heavy stuff. And what he's saying is, guys, you don't do this alone. We want to help. We all want to help. The church, we want to help. We have this wonderful thing called our prayer room, where our prayer team is always, after every service, is waiting to love you and to serve you and to pray with you and to talk and to listen. And if you find yourself in a place of fighting, especially today, go visit that place. You're not alone in doing this, but before you do that, I would encourage you to stay here for some time first. Where you can there's this incredible exchange that happens when we spend time in the presence, not just of God's people, but with God himself in this place, who is the truly awesome one. You see, family, our awesomeness doesn't come from what habits we put into practice, or who we help, or how we mature. Awesome comes as a response to who Jesus is. And so whether it's playing, or it's encouraging, or it's serving, or it's fighting, it's awesome because the Lord is leading the way. You're following his lead. You're inviting him in, and he is the one that's awesome. Would you pray with me? Thank you, Lord, for your awesomeness.